Hello, welcome to Holy Culture's Artist Spotlight. I'm Jay, your host, and with me today is Paddy Simba. Paddy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. So, Paddy, you are officially our first brother from the UK to come to the Artist Spotlight. So, woo,
Come on.
woo,
Come on. Yes, yes. We're here.
You're actually, your manager actually writes for us, who is Mark McGee. So shout out to Mark for making the introduction for us. So for the people who don't know, who is Paddy Simba?
Yeah, honestly, thank you for having me. So my name is Paddy. I'm someone who loves God. I love people. Um, my purpose to do music is to share Jesus to people, to give hope, encourage people. I've always said that I wouldn't be doing music if I weren't doing that. So that's just who I am. I think as an artist, I, I'm a bit off everywhere. Afro beats, um, rap, melodic rap as well. So I'm just a bit everywhere. As long as I can get the message across, that's me.
Yeah, it's great. And so you are right now in the UK. Where in the UK are you?
So I'm in Birmingham. It's the
Okay.
second largest city in England. So
And
that's where I'm
so,
currently based.
but you are not, your parents are originally from there, or do they emigrate
No,
there?
no, they immigrated there, were here from Zimbabwe,
Oh,
southern
wow.
part of Africa.
Okay. So were you born there or were you born in the
Yeah,
UK?
I'm born there as well. Came here when I was young.
How old were you?
I was 7, 8. I think I was about 8.
How
Yeah, I
was
think
that
I was about 8.
transition for you?
You know what? It was interesting. It was all new to me. I was getting bullied at first until I stood up to my bully. Um, and then we became friends after that. So there's a sermon in there somewhere, I'm sure. um, but yeah, it was different, but the change was all of a sudden, but I adapted very well. And yeah, I love it here. I get the privilege of traveling back, traveling around, different countries. I've been to America several times. I'm actually flying there this month, end of this month as well. And yeah, so honestly, I love it. But yeah,
So where did Jesus find you?
oh, that's a good question. You know what? I grew up in a Christian home, so it's just me and my mom. And my mom, when she got saved, she took me to church from when I was born, and of course, I was going just for the sake of going. There's times I would tell my mom that I don't want to go to church. I'm just, you know, I thought it'd be more cool to not even go to church. So, but fortunately, I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing. She would say no all the time. She would be like, yeah, I don't have a son who don't go to church. So, um, but I think one of the benefits in growing up in church was that it gave me an opportunity to hear about God. So growing up, just hearing about Jesus, that He loves me, He cares for me. Although it weren't my reality, I was still doing my thing outside. It came to a point where um, nothing could sustain me. My friends weren't able to help me when I was going through my situations. I felt empty inside. And, you know, I think I was about the age of 16 to 17. Um, just seeing my mom crying just because of all the mess I'm getting into.
Mm.
It was a lifestyle that I didn't want for myself. So that's when I asked God to help me, to take me out of this mess. And ever since then, it's been a journey, of just, making what God did for me a reality. I'm definitely in a better place now, but I'd say I found God when I was 17,
That's
or
awesome.
He
And so
found
were
me,
you,
or whatever,
were
whichever.
you, whichever. He's always in pursuit of us, I think.
Yeah.
Um, was it just were you getting in a lot of trouble? Or were you part of like
Yeah,
gangs and stuff like that?
yeah. I think because it's just been me and my mum, so I grew up
Mhm.
with no dad. So I feel like I lacked identity. I feel like when you grow up without that male figure, because I'm trying to be a man without having seen one. And we know that Jesus had his dad with him because God's proudly saying, "This is my son in who I'm well pleased." So Jesus knew an identity. So for me, I feel like I was just now trying to quench this thirst that I had with the things of the world, because I felt like my dad passed away when I was young. So for me, it weren't anything that I was crying over because it was just my reality. But I think with that, I had a thirst that I didn't realize was there. So that's what, got me into just various things, women, drugs, or, gangs and stuff like that. All them things was really quite a major part back in those days growing up. So again, when nothing could sustain me, my friends couldn't help me. There's just emptiness that's just there. But again, growing up in church, I've always heard that, God is the father to the fatherless, that he will never leave me or forsake me. So, when my mom just had enough of me, I'm just getting into trouble with police and stuff like that. I just cried out to God, and fortunately he's always there. So came to the rescue.
That's awesome. And so tell me where music came in. Was your mom musical or where did your passion for music start?
I genuinely don't know. Because I think my mum, she's someone who sang in the choir back in the days. But for me, I started playing drums. So I was playing drums in church. I was active, moved on to keyboard. So in the UK, we have it's not hip hop. It's a genre called grime. I'm not too sure if you've heard of it. Nah, yeah.
Educate
Um,
us.
I want to say grime is like the UK version of hip hop, but it's not as stylish as hip hop. It's more grimy. It's more just, but yeah. So a lot of my friends that were into grime, so we all just like used to just write lyrics and we would clash each other. Clashing is like battling. You
Battle
you
rap.
guys would
Yeah.
call it, yeah, battle rap.
Yeah.
Um, so I got into that, but all of a sudden, I think it sparked something in me to just continue this further. But because I was so much in church, and then when I gave my life to God, it didn't make sense for me to write about things I don't even know, things that are just rubbish. I just remember like getting a sense in myself to take music a bit more serious. Um, and yeah, I just that feeling just never left me. So I just thought, you know what, let me obey this desire that I have, and start, gospel music. Because at that point I had given my life to God. So
How old were you then? You said.
17,
Okay, so I was
17.
pretty young. So
Yeah,
I was looking at your Spotify and it says here 2017 was your first single, or was there music before that?
I think that would have been my first single. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
So it's I'm a dance. So
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
okay, good.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct. That was my
so
first single.
how did I'm a dance come about? How did you finally say, okay, this is the moment, this is a single, let's go? How did that happen?
Yeah. I think after that feeling of I need to take music seriously, and just because my whole thing has always been, if I'm gonna do music, I'm gonna share about Jesus. So getting in the studio, I weren't looking to do anything different. So just a second. So I got in the studio, and my friend, he makes beats, so he was producing, and he had this beat. I remember it was just such a good beat. I really loved it. I just started writing to it, and at that point, I think I was just expressing the freedom that I'd experienced in Christ. that I'm just gonna rejoice, I'm just gonna dance, I'm just gonna just be free because Christ has set me free, and that's basically what the song was about. And when I released that, people really loved it, enjoyed it. I had testimonies of people saying that this song carried me through uni or a situation that was taken that they were going through, and it just helped them, encouraged them. And it's really cool because at that time I was actually in university. No, that was before I went to university, sorry. And when I then went to university, I was in different events, church events, just performing that song like weekly. So it was really cool. It was really cool.
And so you've had a couple of singles since then. So you've had 2017, you had two, 2018 two, 2019, and then you also had two albums as far as I can see. What has been your biggest challenge, you think, to putting out music?
The biggest challenge in releasing music, I don't think I had like a massive challenge because I was fortunate enough to have people around me that were producers. So I had beats ready for me or made for me. I had access to studios. So I don't think there was too much challenges in that aspect of making music. So I was quite fortunate to be fair. Yeah.
And so these this community that you have built around you, they're Christian too, or are they just people that you happen to know?
Yeah, they're all Christians, yeah. One of my friends who I worked closely with, who's also an artist, he's Christian. So yeah, it made the working process so much easier, so which is really good.
That's cool. I think that there's a difference in um shifting our mindset here because here in America we're so spread out.
Yeah,
And so just to hear studios plural to me is significant because there may be artists here in the US that don't have access to a studio. So they end up, making beats and making their songs, in their bedrooms or in their attics or whatever. And so for you to have access to studios, meaning plural, meaning you already
yeah,
have a community, it's really amazing. And so
yeah,
how do you go about just building this network of people? Do they go to church with you? Do you intentionally go to their events? What does that look like building out
yeah.
this community that you've made for yourself?
No, I think that aspect of like having studios of with full of non-Christians, that world was there. It weren't always like in safer environments. But because of the vision that I had and the goal and the passion for people and stuff like that, it just made me just continue to go for it. Even in those studios where there's smoking and drinking taking place, it weren't ideal. So, but I think it was just a period of time where me and my friend, we just had to like kind of push through, and even with them just like listening to what I'm talking about in my music, it's seed sown, those conversations being had in those rooms. So yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting part, and those guys, they truly did help, with my journey. I wouldn't actually be here even without them guys. So, which is really cool. I think it's relationships most most likely that I built those communities. Because most of the guys I went to school with, or I remember especially one of my friends who's a Christian, who I've worked with in most of my music. He actually just, took an interest in what I was doing. He was a producer. He's now an artist himself now, currently doing very well. So it was just a case of, God just opening up doors, to a point where things just started happening and falling in place.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm so glad too that one, you could be a witness through your music, even to the secular studios that you were there, and two, just like you said, that they did help put your music out. So that's always
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So you've had two previous albums. Winter Gang in 2019, and then Grace in 2022. And you just released a new album. Let's talk about your new album. What's it called?
Yeah, so this you know what, I call it an EP,
Hmm.
only because, of the vibe that I was going for. But I think because of like how things work in terms of it's got 7 tracks on there, so it's
Oh,
not,
okay.
small enough to be called an EP, so it's an album. It's called Emotions Through Highs and Lows. Um, it's definitely my favorite project so far. I love the project. It's very reflective of where I was, where I am. It's very, relatable in some aspects, and that's the vibe I was trying to go for. I was very vulnerable, open and honest. So yeah,
So I was listening. I was on my way to my daughter's soccer game, and I was listening to like the first couple of tracks, and it was very like you said, it was very vulnerable. It was very um like you didn't have anybody else but God to fall back
mm.
into. How would you describe this sound? Like I know what I would describe it as, but how would you describe it?
Wow. I really loved how you described that. Because I didn't actually think about the way you just said it, but in essence, that's what I'm actually trying to communicate. Yeah, I think with emotions, it's something that we all are blessed to have. We all have them. Emotions sometimes they're just up and down, so it's not really something stable to make permanent decisions based on. So I think as Christians, we should be governed by the word of God. So in any, situation or in any circumstance, what does the word say? If God said, love your enemy and pray for them, then I think that's what we as Christians should react and respond to situations. Um, like one of the songs on there, it's called Your Love. That's the first song on there. And for me, I think I was just being very open to God, that I'm I've heard that you're good, you're merciful, you're very kind, but that's just not my experience. That's not my reality. I'm in a place, or I was in a place where I was insecure, frustrated, anxious, and all these things, all these emotions. But again, God, you're this good father. So help me to understand the love that you have for me so that I can live the life that you died on the cross for, so that I can be at peace, experience joy, love. And, I think like towards the end of that song, that's why I then said, I'm forgiven, I'm righteous, I am blessed, I am saved, I'm all these things, because it's really taking on what God said over my feelings or over my thoughts. So yeah, it's just not being governed by emotions.
Yeah, it was great. And I love that it was like a beautiful marriage between like Afro beats. I heard it in the back, but it was also very pop. And so it
Yeah,
had like this new vibe with like the Afro beats background, and I totally digged it. I was like, "Oh, this is fresh. This like it's really cool."
come on.
So yeah, so congratulations. It was beautiful, and
Thank you.
so like yeah, on my ride, I was able to sample your songs, and so you had a collaboration with a great vocalist, and
Yeah.
so I did notice that you do travel. So you've been to the Holy Land, you've been here to the U.S. a number of times. Are you going to be going on tour? Are you going to take Emotions out on the road with you? What's next for Paddy Simba?
Yeah, to be fair, I've been privileged to be invited to various events. Like this summer, I've been ministering or performing at various, festivals and church events, concerts. Just yesterday, I was in a city called Liverpool. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's in England. There was a festival there, and but yeah, again, even end of this month, I'm coming over there in Yuma, Arizona. There's a church there that I'm going to be performing at. I was there last year as well, so and I've also got my headline show in October. So, all these various events definitely be taking emotions there and just giving hope, giving them Jesus. And it's going to be great, great time. It's a great time right now. It's very busy, it's active, and it's good. I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. So, if you're looking for some hopeful music with great beats, check out Emotions. It's out right now. In the last minutes that we have, tell us where we can find you.
So anywhere where you listen to music, I'm on there. If it's Apple Music, Spotify, you can check me out. I'm on all socials, Paddy Simba. You'll definitely find me there. And yeah, let's get to it.
Awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.